Okay, I know it's been a beat my Let's Keep It Real people, but you have to admit, we did have a fun vacation. And when I came back from vacation with Let's Keep It Real, I was very picky about who our first guest would be. And so let me introduce Gary Pica is in the house from
Well,
Florida. Wait, Naples, Florida? I forget.
I am. I'm in Naples, Florida today,
We love the background, by the
but I'm
way.
usually in New Jersey.
Yeah.
So Philly Eagles season ticket holder for 30 years.
But you need a break. We all need a break.
Yeah.
Love it. Tell
Go
us about
birds.
tell us about the background, if for those that are watching.
So as I talk about my background today, one of the things is I built these peer groups and we have an annual event and it's called Schnizzfest. And this is actually a picture I took the morning before day one in 2024 of the stage that was built for that. It was called The Good, the Bad, and the Schniz.
Okay. So we're going to tell them a little bit about you, but who came up with that name because it's brilliant.
Yeah, like most great marketing ideas, they were by accident. Like literally, I was going on a vacation when I owned my first business and with my niece and my kids, and I gave everybody rap names just for fun. And at the end, they're like, "Well, what about you, Uncle Gary? What's your rap name?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm P Schnizzle." And
Ah,
somehow that term attached itself to what we were trying to build. Like our idea, I called it that time the program, attitude, self-image, self-discipline, and it attached itself to being the best you could be. And when I launched True Methods, the training company, it came along with it and became a central point until you see, almost 1,000 people attending Schnizzfest a decade later.
I need a rap name. I think I'm going to have a rap name. I did teach a class, a spin class, where everybody got a porno name. It's sort of the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, close.
It was just for fun. All right, let me tell them about you before we go down. Gary is an entrepreneur who has built three successful businesses. He has spent the last 15 years, I can't wait for you to hear about it, coaching and mentoring hundreds of business leaders and their team. Gary's experience gives him a unique perspective on human achievement, what holds us back, and what propels us to greatness. All right, Gary, we're going to dive right into it because my
Go.
peeps, they had tons of questions for you. We have a lot of entrepreneurs out there. And so they want to know when you were building these businesses, especially let me go for Bob's, especially your first business. What did success cost you in the early years?
Yeah. So I'll tell you, I'll answer that with like a little story
Ooh, I
because I
love
just did
stories.
a blog on this. I have a couple people that have been with me through my whole journey. They worked with me for 30 years. And I told the story that I was talking to one of them, and we were reminiscing about that decade that we built my IT company and just how great it was, like our fond memories of how we did something special. Later that night, I keep a journal off and on. I went back to the early years and I checked my journal, and it was not that. My memory of it was that because we succeeded, but in the beginning, it was self-doubt, long hours, questioning whether I could even get through it. I was never been an entrepreneur. I didn't have the tools. And so to me, the most important thing was that um, I really looked for help. I read every book that I could read, every customer and prospect that I met. I was less concerned about selling them. I was more concerned about interviewing them about how they looked at business and because they've been doing it for a while to try to pick out and find through that, through 100 of them, one or two mentors that, had an answer key to some things that could get me over that hump, like fake it until I make it. And the price to pay was battling through self-doubt and probably burning up a lot more hours than I wanted to. Maybe a few more hours away from my family than I would have liked to. Um, yeah, to me that was the price to pay.
You just made me think of something. I was so fortunate. I told you to have so many mentors. And the one thing, and it just perplexed me, especially, I was in my late 20s when they were telling me this, but they all said the same thing. They all said the one thing they regretted is they didn't spend enough time with their family, that they worked too much. And they were trying to convince me not to do that. But not one of them didn't do that. Like they all, and they were all men, they were all happened to be
Yeah.
men, said the same thing to me. So I was telling my peeps about that, and they want to know from you, Sally, don't you think something has to give? Come on, Gary. You can't just say when the day is done, oh, I shouldn't work those hours. You may have not gotten there if you didn't work those hours. Please help.
I'm not saying that I would do anything differently or that you shouldn't do it. So here's how I look back and can say that. The reason I got in and bought into this business was because had a sales career, and my next step at that point, this is like back in 1996, was to
Okay.
go work for Oracle or SAP to make the big money and travel 60, 70%. And I had little kids and I didn't want to leave them, right? And so that's the reason why. So even though I worked those hours and I didn't eat dinner with them every night, I came home. I could give them their baths. I could read. Whenever they had a game, anything else, a dance recital, I never missed anything. The price that I paid was there was my family that always comes first. Then there was work. There just wasn't a lot of room for anything else.
Uh,
I didn't always maybe take care of myself, like work out in those early years as much as I could have. I didn't have as many friends as other people. I lived, Sandy, in a very small world. It was my family and my business. And so I hear people say, like, this year I'm going to spend more time with my family and focus more on my business and golf more and work out more. I'm like, no, you're not. Pick two. That's what you can do. You're being unrealistic about it. Just pick
yeah.
two. So there were sacrifices to make, but I know guys that would say that same thing. They spent too much time working, but then they're golfing 3 times a week. Well, you chose
That's
golf.
true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yep.
I didn't even think of it that
I
way.
wouldn't change a thing, and I don't think I shortchanged my kids. I think they got to watch a dad that worked hard and was loved his mission, and I think it set a good example for them. And I would say, even though I worked a lot, I don't I don't think the three of them would say that they ever felt like I didn't put them first.
That's true. And you said you did make a decision that you weren't traveling all the time. So even though you worked a lot,
Yeah.
you didn't make every dinner, but you were there for games and a lot of the time. So
But I
that was a
stink
big
at
point.
golf, and I wish I was better at guitar and other things that I'm trying to get now,
Yeah,
focus on. I just couldn't be good at as many things because I chose two.
two. Okay. I want you to know when I asked you for some of your tips, I love that there were three that I never heard before. And some I'm a little confused by. So I need to ask you about trees because I love trees. I love trees. I talk to trees. My best ideas come from me sitting under a tree. So when you said the best time to plant a tree was 10 years ago, the second best time is now, I don't want to interpret it. Well, I'm going to tell you what I thought it was. You can't go back, and if you didn't do it, I mean, it would have been great if you did, but if you didn't do it, then you got to start now. I don't know. That's what I thought.
Yeah, I meet a lot of business people when they come to me. They all own, they're leaders of like managed service providers, IT providers. They run small businesses. The average one has between, 5 and 100 employees. And usually when they come to me, it's because they're stuck. And as we start to teach them things, they start beating themselves up of why they didn't make changes sooner. And so I always tell them, like, yeah, the best time to plant a tree is 10 years ago. You know when the second best time is?
Okay.
Today. And I'm big on letting ourselves off the hook for however we got here, and because it's not productive.
Mm-mm.
And it's one of the things that holds people back that I learned in my little experiment of coaching people. It's one of the things that holds people back. And there's just as of today that I know of, there's no way to go back, and change anything. And but we have today and we have the future. And I just had someone, in fact, I'm interviewing him at my next event in April. He came to me, he probably was already in his late 50s when I met him, and he had run this business for 20 years, just plodded it along. Do you know what I mean? Like, got to a point, it never made a lot of money. And even at that age, he came in and really got a renewed zest. Didn't think about what he hadn't done in the past. And the last 5 years, he's done amazing things. And 3 months ago, he sold his business for enough combined at what he saved, like that he has the life that he wanted. And
Hmm.
so he didn't plant a tree 20 years ago, but when I met him, he planted it. And he got there just the same. And him today, it doesn't matter. Like none of that mattered what he did or when he started because he got satisfaction from it and he has the life that he wanted. So what's the point, right? Plant the tree today.
So I know we're going to dive into your experiment of 15 years of studying humans, but I'm very interested in the mindset of somebody who has financial abundance. And something that stuck with me, oh my God, I'm 40 years ago, somebody said to me, if my business wasn't doing well at the time, and he said, so what? You can make more money, just go make more money. And his attitude was, I know I'm always going to make more money. Money's always going to be there. And I find that the people I know that are successful, they do have a good mindset about money. Like, I can make more. Yeah, I lost that deal. I'm good. They have this healthy attitude versus, oh my God, how am I going to pay your bills? I'm always, making a mistake with money. I'm never going to be successful. So I would like to hear your input on this because I know that you have been doing a lot of research.
Yeah. Uh, I'll use a term that about money I think is important. We all have a relationship with money. Okay. And that relationship, there's a great book. It's a bestseller called The Psychology of Money that everyone should read. And it talks about why we have the relationship. It has to do when we were born, who we were born to, what was happening during those time periods. Tell us how we think about money, about debt, about investing, um, and understanding that and trying to separate our feelings around money from actual decisions. Let me give you one example.
Ooh,
Have you ever heard someone say, a young person say, I really want to stretch to buy this house because I'm renting right now and I'm just throwing money away on rent?
yeah, all the time.
Yeah, well, mathematically, that's not true. Emotionally, it's true, but you don't really own a house. Someone else is going to live in your house after you. Okay? Just we all are renting
Okay.
everything in life. It's just a matter of the emotion you attach. But whether you should buy or rent should be a math problem, but it's not for most people. And so I think changing your relationship with money and then deciding how important it is to you, why it's important to you, and what I would say to most people is when you start doing a few things. One, setting goals around money in terms of net worth goals rather than income goals. That's a big step forward. Two, understanding why. Like, because you got to give up things to accumulate money. It's not as easy as just like, I'm going to go make more. You have to give up things. You have to be determined. Is it worth it? Like, what do you real? Because it's not the money that you want, right? You may think that it is, but you either want freedom, something else, a lifestyle. There's something else you want. You have to attach a value to why you're doing it, and then start to work backwards from there. But I got to tell you, everybody has most people I know have a challenging relationship with money. And mine's changed over the years. And as I've accumulated, some trimmings and trappings, it doesn't solve it. It makes it actually more complex. I've had to spend more time on my relationship with money, not less.
You're kidding. I
Oh,
would, I,
yeah. Absolutely. And that would be everybody I know, especially those that are self-made. Pretty much that's the common thing. I feel like other people maybe don't understand it. If you you have like you don't have any money, you look and think that if you like that maybe I have the one thing that if you had it, that everything would be great in your life. That's preposterous. Okay? It is not that way. Some of the richest people in the world are the unhappiest people I ever met.
That's true.
Yeah, it just does not work that way. And then don't get me wrong, I love money and luckily money loves me, but I'm careful about managing that relationship. And I think a lot of people don't have it because they haven't really thought about their relationship with money in that way and haven't educated themselves about money. Does
So
that
I
make sense?
it does. So I've met a lot of wealthy people, and there's happy ones, not happy ones, but I didn't think of them of not having a good relationship with money, the wealthy ones. I thought, okay, they got that figured out, but the rest of their life they don't.
Nope. It doesn't work that way. They
Even
interviewed a bunch
fibbing
of
to
people.
me.
They interviewed, I saw this magazine, I read this article where they interviewed like a bunch of people. I'm going to say it was more than 3,000 people that had between like 1 and 20 million dollars. And they
Mhm.
asked them just one question. How much money would you need to feel rich? And 70% of them gave the exact same answer. Do you know what it is? Twice as much as what I have today. Think about that for a
Really?
second. Whether they had 1 million or 20 million, they felt they needed twice as much as what they have today to feel rich. It's kind of depressing.
Oh my God, that's so, I'm
Yeah.
laughing because my business partner used to laugh at me because I always thought I was rich, even though I didn't have any money. I'm like, what are you talking about? I got a home, I got a car. This is good stuff. And he would, thank God I had somebody taking care of that because my attitude was always completely the opposite. I'm really rich. This is amazing. That was my
Can,
mindset.
can I add one more thing on money?
Yeah, go ahead.
So here's some of the things I learned about it. One, money comes in, money goes out. We all die with the exact same amount. One. Two, no matter how much you have, somebody else always has more, right? Three, the real value to me of money, and I try to teach this to all the business leaders who are working for more money, is really choices, right? To get to a point where, especially like where I am in my career and my age, it's harder for me to do things that I don't want to do right now. And luckily, I'm in a position, Sandy, where I don't have to do too many things I don't really want to do with people that I don't want to do them with. Outside of that, cars, houses, vacations, they're all great, right? I could live without all of it, but I'd have a hard time giving up the fact that I have some choices in life. And that's what people should value, that you're working towards as you get older, that you have choices of what you want to do, when you want to do it, and how to spend your time. Everything else that people attach, with success, it's a slippery slope to me.
So that leads me into this question, and a bunch of the women at this networking event I was out today want to know this. They want to know, dear Gary, what is one of the biggest lies business leaders tell themselves?
One of the biggest lies they tell themselves is that next year is going to be better. That's the biggest lie.
Oh my gosh, you did
I
just
have people come to me all the time and show me their plan for next year. And it's like, okay, let me make sure I get this. You've been in business for 15 years to get to 2 million in revenue. You're going to get to 3 million in the next 2 years. Show me what that's dramatically different. First off, have you done the math? Do you even know what that looks like? Because I have, and it's, two, what are you going to do dramatically different? And the answer is like, oh, well, I'm going to focus more on sales and marketing. Like that's the extent of the
Yeah.
plan. Lies. They're lying to themselves to make themselves feel better when they, instead of facing the fact of where they are and really doing the hard work to put a real plan together and changing how they spend their time. Because if you're a business owner and you want different results, you cannot spend your day the way you're spending it today. Because if that worked, you'd already be there.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, now you got me fired up.
I can't wait. I can't
These are
wait for
great
them to hear it.
questions, but can I just say these are great questions? And can I also say, um, there is not enough women entrepreneurs.
Yay.
There is
That's what
not
we're
enough.
talking
I
about
deal in
today.
an industry like a bunch of old white dudes, right? So now I have about 1,000 people around the world that are in my peer group, and in North America we have 500 or 600, and we get the women together like in a special kind of group every time to try to foster their success. We need more women. We need more minorities to be entrepreneurs.
Well, the Society for Professional Women mainline chamber will be happy to hear you say that. And but it is getting better. We were looking at the stats that it's getting better. All right,
Good.
let's dive into this because we talked about it a little bit before we recorded. Your 15-year experiment and how you said it's like a double blind study for the industry peer groups of the human experience that no one else has done and what you've learned from that. So can you tell us just a little bit about it?
Yeah. So in my last company that I had, I sold it a few years ago, but I still work in it. Um, One of the things we did was build these industry peer groups. Like today, we have 1,000 members on 3 continents. But it started 15 years ago, and a lot of the people have been with me for 15 years, 10 years. We give them training on how to run a high performance IT company. Like it's a proven framework.
Okay.
They do benchmarking. So every quarter, they're reporting all of their results, financial, sales, profitability. And because I see them every quarter, I get to know them personally. So now I get to know who they are and I get to see their results over a long period of time. I get to see when I meet people who I think has the most potential. And then when I'm surprised when they don't reach it, or other people that I think have less potential that prove me wrong. And this is what led me, like in the beginning, uh, people would say that all I had was a hammer, a flamethrower. Because I would, people say, you told me you want to be better. I told you what to do and you didn't do it. Like, I would kind
Yeah.
of come at people.
Yeah.
But what I realized, Sandy, it's not that they didn't want to do it, they couldn't do it. They had self-limiting beliefs that were keeping themselves. One of my favorite books is called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. And in there, he says that in life, we all have one problem to solve. It's the upper limit problem. That based on everything we've experienced from the time we were born, every relationship, every interaction, that we all have some limit of how much money, success, love, peace that we think we deserve. And when we hit that limit, consciously or subconsciously, we'll do something to keep ourselves there. So I see it in people that, like, usually in my business, they're making a bunch of changes on a bunch of things at once. And then all of a sudden, when those things get far enough down the line, you see this hockey stick over 1 or 2 years. And I know when they're about to go up that hockey stick. And then all of a sudden, they lose their best employee. And then they get there again. And 6 months later, they lose their biggest customer. And then 6 months later, they go through a divorce. And then a year later, they have a skiing accident. And I call it the banana peel syndrome. Right when they're ready to succeed, they slip on a banana peel. And I realized it wasn't bad luck. It was their upper limit problem. They were finding some ways of not getting the things like they had gotten as much as they thought they deserved, out of life. And so, in trying to help them, what I realized was that telling them more of what to do, because success should only have 2 steps: know what to do and then do it. But if that was true, we'd all be successful at way more things. And we're not. And this is the missing ingredient of these self-limiting beliefs. And fear is at the center of all of them. And so I've come up with a whole bunch of ways. We have a book club. I do content on it at every event. I try to push and prod in different ways to make people more introspective and within their groups to teach each other how to look for other people's upper limits so that they can help them better, with it. And that's what we all need to do. And by the way, while this was happening over 15 years, I also was part of the experiment building my own business, right? So it wasn't like I'm teaching them. We were learning together through all this
Yeah.
process. And it is the most, I think, sometimes frustrating, but also the most rewarding and fascinating thing that I've ever been involved with in my life. Like, I don't know how lucky how I got so lucky to have this view and the people to let me in, to share with me and let me in.
Um, and the fact that they're helping each other, I freaking love that.
Yeah. They're lifelong relationships. I was in a peer group when I had my IT company, and they're some of my closest friends, to this day. And until they get vulnerable with each other, not just sitting in a room talking about business, but they go out to dinner and they have a little truce serum, and where they get to know each other, where they feel they could push back on each other and call each other on their BS to say like, "Hey, you said you're going to do that for 2 quarters now, and you still didn't do it." Like, what's going on? Why are
Yeah.
you holding yourself back?
You know, I think I told you this too, but I didn't know I was doing it and I didn't believe them. When I owned my health clubs, I'd get to a certain point and then I'd get going and going and going, and then I'd like flatline. And it was almost like I was stopping myself. And one of my mentors said to me, "You're doing that on purpose." I'm like, who would do that on purpose? Like, I didn't, oh,
Everyone would.
yeah. And it wasn't until years later, I'm like, holy moly, I think he was right. I was feeling so guilty that I was making money because of where I grew up that I subconsciously was stopping myself, but it didn't make logical sense to me that I was doing that. So, my question is for people on this journey, like you said, fear is always what stands between us. And a lot of people do. I didn't even know about this freaking book. I have a million books and I don't have the big leap. I think the number one thing you're going to advise them is buy the book. But what else could they do if they fought? You call it stuck. Well, let's say they know they've been in a business and all of a sudden, they're not doing well. They're stopping themselves. What's the first thing they should do?
Okay, so here's the order in which I would think about it. One, you got to look in the mirror, and you got to start to be honest with yourself like, do you think you have more potential? And if so, why you haven't lived up? Why you're held back from that potential? Two, start to educate yourself with books and podcasts, not just about business and perspective, but I'm saying about our thought process. I mean, books like, The Untethered Soul and things where you have to understand, this horrible voice that we have in our head that plays a grooved record all the time that holds you back. If you don't recognize it and figure out how to interrupt it, you can't outrun it. It's there from the minute you open your eyes, telling you the same negative thoughts until the minute you fall asleep. Um, I would say find others on the same journey, right?
Mhm.
Like peer groups. That's why I'm a huge fan of them. Um, Look, if it's necessary, get some therapy. Like that's been something that's been a game changer, in my life, in order to help to be more introspective. Start setting goals in a more deliberate and defined ways, and make sure you read and understand the goal setting process. So if you're a business leader and you haven't read books like Scaling Up or Traction, like you probably don't know really how to do that process. Put accountability process and be kind to yourself. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
look at it as a starting point. And I know for me, one of the things that helped is when I set goals for myself, I made them or didn't make them. When I started involving others, my customers, my team, my family, and I was doing things and being accountable to other people that I cared about, right? That I will let myself down, but I do not like to let other people down. And I think most people are the same way.
Yep. Even having an accountability partner, you don't want to get on and go, yeah, I'm supposed to, even if you check in with somebody, it works the same thing in health and wellness for people. They're more likely to disappoint themselves, but if they have somebody waiting for them or a partner checking in with them, they're more likely to reach it. Absolutely.
I had one of my peer members say to me at a meeting in January, I'm like, hey, pretty good sales quarter. He's like, yeah, we sold it all in the last 3 weeks. I'm like, why is that? He's like, you want to know the truth, Gar? I didn't want to face you with a zero.
See?
Because I didn't want to let you down.
Yeah.
I know how much you believe in me. And I got to tell you, I can't tell you how many people I work with that I see more of their potential than they see in themselves,
Yeah.
right? And you can understand that. I believe in them more than they believe in themselves. You can understand that. But here's the tough one. For many of them, I feel like I want it more for them than they want it. That one's hard for me to understand because I know what it means in their life. I often ask them this question. So, what if your business at your age, what if your business doesn't get any better? Because it hasn't for 10 years and is just what it is. Will you reach your long-term financial goals? And the answer is no. And I'm like, okay, man, that's our starting point. You got to put yourself in the future of what you want your life to look like in 10 years. And you got to bring that reality into the present to motivate you because you have to change your priorities. You have to change how you operate and how you spend your time every day. There's no other way forward for an entrepreneur than changing. Like, how the owner of a $2 million business operates every day and what they do is so different than a $10 million or 20 million. If you don't change to be ahead, you're never going to be that. No one runs a $10 million MSP spending their day like someone who runs a $2 million MSP.
You know, it sounds so logical, but yet
It's hard.
so many people don't do it. You're right. And I love the fact that you say the biggest lie is, yeah, I'm going to have a better year. I'm going to do the same exact thing, but I'm going to have.
Yeah, and that's the lie we tell ourselves so that we can let protect our self-image in some way. And then another year goes by, and another year goes by. And again, I know people that I've known for 20 years in this industry, and they're pretty much where they were telling themselves that same lie. They're running out of time now.
I knew I was going to love talking with you. All right. I got to get a couple in because I promised them, or they're going to.
Go ahead.
They want to know about your mentors. So John wants to know who early on really had a big impact in your life, and then currently who has a big impact in your life.
Well, uh, I would say my dad. He fought in World War II. He worked in a factory for 35 years
Mm.
to raise 4 kids,
Oh,
got all of us through college.
how many of
So
all of us?
four of us through college.
Wow.
And I pay more in taxes in a quarter than he ever made in his life. Like the discipline and sacrifice. I got my kids to college, but I didn't need discipline and sacrifice that he had. So he was a big influence. I had a mentor who was the owner of the accounting company that I used. And he was the first real business person because where I grew up, I never even met a business owner. Like I knew people owned businesses, but I never even thought about like what that looked like or who that was. I grew up in
Yeah.
Levittown, Pennsylvania. We all lived in the same house, turned a different way. Do you know what I mean? We all drove the same car, and everybody's dad, like some of them might have been an accountant and wore a tie, but for the most part, they all went and worked blue collar jobs. So when I met this person, um, they're the first one who started teaching me about how business people thought. And then when it came time to make the decision to sell my first business, I don't think I would have gotten through it without him. And he's been there through all those pieces. So, like having someone that I could go to ask questions and that I trusted and had my best interests at mind. And today, I have a couple people in my life. One of them who is in our industry, and we work together actually now. And he's someone that I talk to every day, and is on a similar trajectory in life. He's actually younger than me, so we kind of mentor each other. But we've kind of made this someone I can tell anything that I'm going through as I navigate like decisions I'm making and the next phase of my life. And so I'm lucky to have a few people like that. And what I would say is I've had times in my life, you have relationships, but those relationships where you could be completely honest with people, not just with what you want them to know, but you'll tell them all the horrible stuff you're
Yeah.
thinking and mistakes you're making. Like and they come and go. But if like the times in my life when I've had one or two people in my life like that is where I felt like the most strength. And I haven't always had it in my life. Like I happen to be in a place now where I have several people like that in my life who really know me and like they know all my mental illness as well as my, resume and what other
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
think about me and that we all still deal with. People make a lot of assumptions about all of us based on what we've done, and we sometimes want to protect what people think about that, and you need some people that you don't have to protect that with.
So true. So true. It's great to have one person in your life like that. Oof.
But you don't need 50 mentors.
No. Mm-mm.
You need wherever you are in life, you need the right person at the right time. But here's the thing. I believe you have these linchpins. Like if you look back on your life where you met the right person at the right time, and other people say, "Well, I never met that person." I'm like, "No, you did. You just didn't slow down enough to recognize it." Like I treat every person I meet if they might be that person for me. Because when I think about those people, when I met them, I didn't know when I met them they were going to be that important of a person for me. Like they don't announce themselves as a linchpin in your life. Like unless you're looking for them and you're treating everyone that way, you won't. The same thing with good and bad luck. Some people feel like they've had a lot of bad luck, but most of us over the long haul, over decades, have about the same amount of good and bad luck events.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just that successful people recognize the good luck events and they're prepared more for the bad luck events.
Ooh, that's a good one. All right. Last big question. Gary, is there a part of you that had to change in order to grow into the level of success you now have today?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Like repeatedly over time. And first off, can I use my number one thing that I sent you since we're talking about success, my definition of success?
Yeah.
So I said that success is the continuous journey towards the achievement of predetermined worthwhile goals. Like that's a definition that I read when I was 21 years old and has stuck with me. What most people say when they say, like, they ask me about success, they think about business success and financial success. Like that's mainly what they're referring to. Would you agree?
I agree.
Yeah. So I'll answer that question and I'll go back to say what I think maybe success
Okay.
is. So I'll talk about it. It's like it is always hard to grow into it. I remember when I had my first business, right when we first started making some money, was the first time I love cars. From the time I was a kid, I loved like muscle cars and stuff. Could never afford one. And so I got this 2002 BMW 5 Series. It was the first nice car I ever owned. And I loved that car. But when I would go visit like my cousins, I would park the car on the next block and walk around
Of course you
because I
would.
didn't want them to see.
Absolutely.
I didn't want them to see, my car. And it's been that way where it takes time for your self-image to grow into letting yourself know it's okay to have
Yep.
some things and it's okay to have some success. And I think the answer is yes, I've had to change and continue. Like I think that's an ongoing process. And an important part of understanding your relationship with money and your self-limiting beliefs, because that's really what underpins that kind of an imposter type of syndrome.
So they did ask a lot of questions about what books you would recommend them purchasing. And I don't know if it's the same ones you gave us already, but I also had a gentleman say, do you really think they're worth it? I've read so many books and they really haven't helped me. I said, I'm going to let Gary answer that one.
Yeah. So here's what I've learned about books.
I love
There,
books.
some of them aren't that great.
Yeah.
Um, Most of them are too long. Like usually the first 50 pages, I can skim the rest after because they just start repeating and feeling like the publisher made them fill
Yeah.
them up.
So many words.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I would not be here today if you saw, like, I'm not Homer, I'd show you my bookshelf. Hundreds of books, hundreds of them that I've read on so many different topics. I don't think I would be here today had I not done that. And it's not like I'm looking for, although a couple of them were manuals. Like you can read a book like Scaling Up, it's literally a manual on how to do a business plan. But most of them, same with podcasts, are to change your perspective. Like you can read a book like Die with Zero, and you may or may not love the way that it's written, but it'll give you a little different perspective, on things. And so I would say temper your expectations of why you're reading that book. Rather than looking for an answer, look for more perspective. Almost every successful person, financially success, business success, like using that
Mm.
definition, almost all of them consume books and podcasts voraciously. So I feel like success leaves clues. So if you feel that way, and I'm telling you that it is my experience, not my opinion, that books
Right.
are important, I would question yourself
Yeah.
about that and maybe change your perspective on what you're trying to get from the books.
So right now, I know you have a lot of books, but is there a top three that you would recommend to my entrepreneurs out there?
So a couple classics. I like the original. You got to temper it because it was written a long time ago, but I love Think and Grow Rich. When I read in there that if you have a goal and it's worthy and you commit your life to it, it'll probably happen. Um, as a young 23-year-old, that was life changing. Now, I was disappointed because I thought it would happen in a week.
Yeah.
I didn't know that it took a little longer than that, but I think
Yeah.
Think and Grow Rich. I already mentioned The Big Leap.
Yep.
I like Jim Collins. Great by Choice. All
Yeah.
business people should be acquired. He also wrote Good to Great. That was good, not great. But Great by Choice is an amazing book. As I said, either Scaling Up by Vern Harnish or Gino Wickman's book, Traction, in terms of business operating system,
Yeah.
fantastic. Um, and then I love books about studying ourselves, things like A New Earth and Michael Singer and those kind of things. That has to be part of your repertoire.
Books changed my life. They saved my life.
Yeah.
They really do. Everyone always teases my friends, go, you need a lot of self-help. I go, I do. I do need a lot because I'm constantly wanting to learn more. All right. So, what are you up to lately, Gary? How do you spend most of your time?
So right now, I'm still involved with the company that acquired. So the last company I built did these peer groups I explained and sold some online training that I developed, but also developed a software product. So it was a SaaS software business. It was acquired. I still run those peer groups. I do that piece of it. I sit on some boards, involved with some venture and private equity. So from a business standpoint, that's how I spend my time. I have my first granddaughter. So that's an important thing. And really at that phase, deciding what I want the next chapter to look like for me. I feel like I have a lot of energy and I have the most perspective and knowledge and skill and connections that I've ever had in my career. It's just a matter of how do I
Hmm.
want to use them? And then what are my rules of engagement? Like, I don't want to be on recurring Zoom meetings. I don't want people telling me what to do. I want to have like certain freedoms. So, what are my non-negotiables, right? Kind of like my charter for my next chapter. And then what can I do based on that charter? Because it doesn't open me up to every opportunity. You know, I could go be the CEO of a startup tomorrow. But it breaks my charter of where I am in my life. And so I think wherever you are, you have to have your rules of engagement, and then know that there's maybe some opportunities you'll give up because they might not meet some of those hard and fast rules that you think are important in your life.
I could actually end on that, but we have to ask you, do you have any mindset rituals? Because they need to know, because they're my peeps, that you do on a daily basis to get yourself into a more powerful, positive mindset.
Oh, you're gonna love this answer. I read a book
I'm ready.
when I was probably, I'm gonna say my late 20s. It was called The Official Guide to Success by Tom Hopkins. And he was a sales trainer. And in that book, he recommended something that he called self-instruction cards. So there are 3x5 cards that you write down characteristics of yourself that you're trying to get to, written in the first person. So they would be things like, I am always optimistic, right? I find opportunities in things that no one gives a chance. And I had these stack, and I would start every day by going through those self instructions. And I still go through them to this day. They've changed over time. Some of them are tattered and old. They've been in there for they're
Yeah,
yellow, and other ones I kind of got to the point where I didn't need them, and then I faced new challenges in life and put new things in their personal things and business things, and so to me trying to interrupt my thought process. Do you know
mhm.
what I mean? So that when I had a negative thought, that would pop into my mind, that thing that I was reading multiple times a day. And that's been really impactful for me. This struggle between us and our thoughts is at the center of what stands between us and happiness and peace.
Absolutely. So I just want to make sure that I'm clear. Do you read one every day, or is there more than one?
It's a whole stack. And I quickly it's a stack about like this, and I run through that stack multiple times a day.
And how many are in your stack?
It's about this thick, so I don't know. There must be 20 or more in there, but they're mostly short,
Yeah,
couple
yeah,
sentences.
yeah. I might have to add that in. I mean, I do the same thing, but I do it dancing out on my porch every single morning. Like today's going to be a great day. Great things always happen. My neighbors get very entertained. So but I do write in my journal, but I don't have that stack. I like that. And you're
Yeah.
right. You can't have two thoughts at the same time. So replacing it, beautiful. All right. Before we go, is there anything we didn't get in that you want to get in? Anything you
No, this was great. I guess the closing thought that I would have, especially it seems like there's some people that are entrepreneurs or wanting to be entrepreneurs. I just like to say that if you're not where you think you should be, that something has to change, and it starts with you. Find people who have done what you have done or would like to do. Spend time with those people. You know, dig in and educate yourself on all the topics that we talked about today, and start with that mindset every morning. I mean, give yourself a chance, a starting chance. Like, I don't have an office now, but I did for many years. And walking into that office, I would really focus on that mindset, knowing that when I walked in there, that everything we say, everything we do, every facial reaction, all of it builds to what people think about us.
want?
And how we act and what we do is a reflection of how others treat us. You can control that. Like once you start to control those interactions, people will expect. And I have people say, well, that's easy for you to say. You're like, you're Gary Pica. It's like, yeah, I've been Gary Pica for about 10 minutes of my career. Okay. I wasn't always. It was painstaking work to build what they call Gary Pica, has been like a concerted effort every day of how I treat people, how I want to be viewed, how I react to things. And I fail. I have situations where I'm human. Like I still react like to everybody else, but I realize it like real time now. It's like, that's not kind of how I want to be viewed. And I don't think people take enough personal responsibility, Sandy, for how people treat them. Like we're mainly responsible for how people treat us and what they think of us.
Okay, Gary, now you ended on a topic that could be a whole nother podcast. That's a
Yeah.
that's a whole nother podcast. All right. How can they reach you? How can they find you?
Best place to find me is on LinkedIn.
Okay.
I post blogs about the topics we're talking about today almost once a week. I'll put a blog out there. I don't have anything to sell. I don't have anything to promote other than awesomeness. But if you come there, you can get an idea, and I got some stuff coming in the future, and it'll all be there. All aimed at trying to help people more and help more people.
I don't have anything to sell you right now. Ah, shucks.
Yeah.
Oh my God, too funny. All right, my let's keep it real people. Come on. You know you love them. You're going to want to share it, like it, rate it, subscribe. I love you. I think you're the best humans in the world. I say it all the time. I attract the most amazing humans. I'm so fortunate. Gary, thank you so much for being here. I really
Oh, thank you,
appreciate
Sandy. You're amazing. Thank you so much for having me. This has been really, really fun.
it. Enjoy Florida. Until next time, you know what I'm going to say. Toodles.